تقدم إذاعة الجمهورية اليمنية.
Hey Marco, how are you?
Fine, salam alaikum.
Alaikum
Salam alaikum.
It has been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. I hope all is good with you.
It's all good. It's all good. How about you? How's Europe? How's summer?
Europe is heating.
I can imagine.
It looks like the heat is moving north from the south to the north. In Rome, it's around nearly 40 degrees these days.
Yeah, I hear even my friends in Germany tell me a few days ago it was 37 degrees. Yeah, that's very hot for Europe. But let's put Europe aside and talk about you, Marco. You're our main focus today.
Thank you.
Welcome, Marco. Welcome to الأخير podcast. I'm really honored to have you with me here today, and I'll just give the floor to you. Introduce yourself. I can give a brief introduction in Arabic. ضيفنا اليوم ماركو ليفادوتي، إيطالي عاش معظم حياته في اليمن. عمل في اليمن في السياحة وفي أكثر من مشروع يتعلق بالعمارة اليمنية. وبصراحة يعني ما أكمل، خليني أعطيك فرصة إنك تعرف على نفسك.
أهلا وسهلا. أهلا. أيوة. From where I start. أنا وصلت اليمن عمري 4 في الستينات.
قبل الثورة ولا بعد الثورة؟
قبل الثورة في الستينات، في عام 1960. كان الوالد في ليبيا، الوالد طبعا طبيب، كان يشتغل في ليبيا، والإمام أحمد كان يدور دكاترة، وفي تاريخ من دكاترة إيطاليين في اليمن من زمان، من قبل الحرب الثانية. والوالد سافر اليمن، ووصلنا اليمن، وصلنا عدن في عام 1960. وبعدين من عدن طلعنا باللاندروفر لتعز، والوالد قبل الإمام أحمد، والإمام أحمد قال له أنا أحتاجك في صنعاء جنب ابني محمد البدر. يعني جلسنا في تعز حوالي أسبوع في دار الضيافة. ما كان فيش فنادق في اليمن هذاك الأيام، كان في دار الضيافة في تعز ودار الضيافة في صنعاء وخلاص. وبعدين طلعنا صنعاء من تعز، ووصلنا صنعاء وخلاص. الوالد بدأ يشتغل في المستشفى الملكية هذه الأيام، مستشفى الجمهورية، وفي نفس الوقت كان يشتغل مع كل العائلات المسؤولين والبدر، وهذا هو. وطبعا هذيك الأيام كان حياة ثاني ووقت ثاني، بس أنا صراحة ما قد نسيت هذيك الأيام. يعني وصلت اليمن وزي ما وصلت في دولة ثانية، في دنيا ثانية، في عالم ثاني.
طب تتذكر أول يوم وصلت فيه؟ هل جيتوا بطيارة ولا جيتوا بباخرة؟
لا كله بالسيارة. لا صح كلامك. يعني طلعنا من عدن لتعز باللاندروفر، بعدين رحنا من تعز لصنعاء بالطائرة. كان هذيك الأيام الدي سي 3، تعرف الطائرة الصغيرة الدي سي 3. وصلنا صنعاء بالدي سي 3.
ببحث عنها وأعملها في الفيديو. بس أنا سؤالي كان متعلق يعني وصولك لعدن. وصلت لعدن كيف؟ من فين؟ بطيارة، بباخرة؟
وصلنا عدن هذيك الأيام. كانت زي دبي هذا الأيام، يعني كانت ما شاء الله مدينة مستمرة، وكان طائرة دولي، الطائرات واصلين من العالم كله لعدن، وبواخر وكل شيء. لا لو وصلنا بالطائرة، لأنه رحنا من ليبيا لبيروت، من بيروت رحنا عدن.
اوكي.
وصلنا عدن بالطائرة.
اوكي. طيب، احكي لنا على طفولتك يعني في اليمن. كيف كانت؟ هل انت قضيت معظم طفولتك في اليمن؟ في اول زيارة لك كم جلست؟
يعني وصلت قلت لك في عام 1960 وجلست هنيك في اليمن في صنعاء مع الوالد لعام 1973. طبعا مش طول الوقت، لأنه في البداية درست في اليمن، كان في مدرسة إيطالية، كنا 4 طلاب بس 4.
المدرسة كلها ولا صفك؟
ها؟
المدرسة كلها ولا صفك بس؟
كنت أنا و3 أطفال ثاني بس. كان في معلم جاي من أسمرة من إريتريا، معلم إيطاليا. والمدرسة كانت في التحرير، هذيك الأيام كانوا يسموها شرارة. بيتنا كان في شارع جمال، والوالد كان يمشي للمستشفى بالسيكل. ما كان في سيارات في الصراحة، ما كان في يمكن 1 أو 2 سيارة حق الإمام وبس. بقية الناس كلهم كانوا يمشوا بالخيول والجمال، كان كله خيول وجمال. تولى المدينة خيول وجمال، تحرير شرارة كان كلها جمال وخيول.
يعني حتى يعني أبوك لما كان يروح بالسيكل يعني كان شكله غريب. يعني أول مرة
حاول مرة يروح بالفرس، راح 2 مرات 3 بالخيل كمان، بس بعدين رجع على السيكل قال أحسن. بس أنا كان عندي 2 خيول، وكنت أتمشي في صنعاء بالخيول. كنت أطلع على سوق الملح بالفرس وأخرج من صنعاء. تعرف صنعاء هذيك اليوم كان معاصرة كلها بالسور، وكان يغلقوا الأبواب في الليل، وبعد المغرب كان ممنوع الخروج من المدينة.
صنعاء القديمة.
صنعاء القديمة ما كان في صنعاء الجديدة، ما كان صنعاء القديمة وبس.
حتى مش قديمة ولا صنعاء.
صنعاء الجديدة يعني صنعاء القديمة يعني من القاع اليهود إلى القصر السلاح. أنت تعرف صنعاء هي 2 دايري سور، يعني عندنا الدايري حق دير العزب والقاع اليهود، وعندنا الدايري حق صنعاء القديمة اللي كان يسموه سوق الملح. ما كنا نقول أنا طلع على صنعاء القديمة، كنا نقول أنا رايح على سوق الملح، كان سوق الملح. عرفت كيف؟ وكنت أخرج من باب السلام، من باب الروم، من باب اليمن، وأخرج وتمشي خارج صنعاء. كان كلها بساتين وأراضي زراعية، كلها أخضر أخضر أخضر. الخضار ما تحيل كان الخضار هذيك الأيام، ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. وكنت أتمشي 2 3 بالخيل مع أصحابي، وكان حياة يعني ما شاء الله.
طيب
ربينا في صنعاء، وكنت أمشي مع الوالد أحيانا في الليل. أنا أذكر في الليل الوالد بعد العمل بعد العشاء كنا نمسك الطريق، ما كان فيش إنارة في الشوارع، كان كله ظلمي. وكنا نمشي بالطريق، نمشي من شارع جمال إلى دار البشائر لبيت البدر. كنا نروح نزور البدر ولا نزور المسؤولين في البيوت القصور الثاني، ونرجع البيت وخلاص. هذا كانت الحياة في صنعاء.
طيب ويعني أنت وصلت في الستينات، وهل كانت عيشتك في اليمن متواصلة ولا كنت؟
لا مش متواصلة، يعني زي ما قلت لك كان في مدرسة إيطالية، وفي البداية أول 2 سنين درست في صنعاء. بعدين لما عمري 7 وصلنا عدن، وطلعوني في طائرة في عدن وأرسلوني لبيروت.
هربوك.
أرسلوني لبيروت لأنه جدي كان عايش في بيروت، لأنه تعرف الوالد مولود في بيروت وجدي عايش في بيروت. ورحت سكنت مع جدي في بيروت، وبدأت المدرسة الإيطالية في بيروت، وجلست في بيروت حوالي 2.5 سنين درست في بيروت. بعدين نقلت من بيروت لروما في مدرسة ثانية في روما، وبعدين من هنا. بس كنت أرجع صنعاء 3 مرات في السنة. 3 مرات في السنة كنت أزور عائلتي في صنعاء. طبعا في الصيف كنت أجلس حوالي 3-4 شهور في صنعاء، وشهر في الشتاء في الكريسماس، وشهر في الإيستر تايم، يعني 3 مرات في السنة.
وكيف كانت يعني ما يعني يا ماركو، مش يعني زي اللي أقول لك إنه كيف كانت الرحلة يعني 3 مرات في السنة. أحس إنه في الستينات كانت رحلة صعبة، يعني الآن يعني أتخيل أن الرحلة صعبة، ما بالك يعني في الستينات.
ما اعتقد انه كانت صعب ولا شيء. كانت عدن يعني زي ما قلت لك مدينه دوليه، يعني كان في طيران واصلين من كل العالم. بيروت عدن كان في طائره يوميه ولا من اسمره، ولا من اسمره كمان لصنعاء كان في طائره 3-4 مرات في الاسبوع، وخلاص كان بسيط يعني.
اوكي.
احسن، انا اعتقد انه كان افضل اول من اليوم، من هذا الايام، لانه ما كان فيش مشاكل امنيه ولا شيء. كنت تدخل المطار زي ما تدخل بيتك، تطلع في الطائره وتروح. هذا الحين انت لما تدخل المطار يشتي لك ساعتين قبل تمر على المطار.
والله اني اسمعك الان تتكلم واقول يعني الان معنا 3 رحلات بالاسبوع داخل البلاد كلها، يعني مش في مطار واحد، مش ممكن يعني. لا حول ولا قوة الا بالله. بس قبل ما نتكلم بهذه الاشياء، احكي لي يا ماركو على، يعني الان اشتيك تركز على طفولتك بس من وجهة نظر فرضا المملكة المتوكلية اليمنية. كيف كانت ايام الامام؟ يعني ايش الاشياء اللي، احكي لي، ماشي اقول لك ايش الاشياء الحلوه ولا مش حلوه، اشتيك تحكي لي بس كيف كانت اليمن قبل الثوره، قبل ما تكون جمهوريه.
اذكر ان الحياه كان عادي وبسيط، والناس كانوا مبسوطين، ما كان فيش المشاكل اللي عندنا هذا الايام، لانه التكنولوجي جاب لنا مشاكل كثير سيارات وتليفونات وهذا والعمل والفلوس وهذا. هذيك الايام كان كله عادي وبسيط بسيط بسيط. اليوم كان يبدا بالشمس ويوصل الى نهايه الشمس وخلاص مع السلامه، كل واحد يرقد.
والله يا ماركو مش بس سيارات وتكنولوجيا، يعني احس انه كذا تصدير مشاكل، يعني literally يعني disconnected world, it's literally exporting problems يعني. عارف ايش اقول لك؟
مشاكل كبيره. وبعدين انت تعرف هذيك الايام اليمنيين ما كان فيش تلفزيون ولا كان في تليفونات، يعني كان يمكن في صنعاء كلها كان عندنا 300-400 تليفون يعني. وبعدين المواصلات في الخارج مع التليفون كان صعب جدا، وما كان فيش والراديو كنا نسمع الراديو نادرا مرة الأخبار وهذا. يعني كان اليمن يعني جزيرة بين البحر.
يا ماركو ذكرتني، كنت أقرأ قبل فترة، كنت أعمل ريسيرش وكنت أقرأ على الجيش المصري أيام الثورة. من كثر ما
هذا شيء ثاني
هذا. بس من كثر ما كان في يعني تأخر في التكنولوجيا في اليمن، كان في سوق سوداء. الجيش المصري يجيب معه تلفزيونات، يجيبوا معاهم راديوهات، يجيبوا معاهم تلفونات، يجيبوا معاهم لاسلكي ويبيعوها. ذي الدرجة تخيل يعني، انه ما كان في اليمن، ما كانش في اليمن. ما اعرفش اذا انت مريت بذا الشيء شخصيا، بس هذا من اللي انا قريته يعني، ما حد كلمني.
اقول لك قصه يعني. تخيل لما قامت الثوره ودخلوا في قصر الامام، في دار البشائر وفي دار السعاده، في القصور بتاع الامام، حصلوا مخازن مليان تلفزيونات، لانه المسؤولين في الخارج كانوا يجيبوا للامام تلفزيون هديه، تلفزيون والامام ايش بيسوي؟ كان يدخلن في المخازن ويخبيهم في المخازن، لانه ما فيش تلفزيون في الديار. بس لا، المصريين هذا شيء ثاني. طبعا الحياة تغيرت، كل شيء تغير مع الثورة. أنا كنت في سنة طبعا يوم الثورة، وأذكر تماما يوم الثورة، لأنه كنا أنا وأخي في بيتنا في شارع جمال، والوالد وأمي كانوا خارج، كان في حفلة ولا معزومة في السفارة، في أي سفارة، مدير أي سفارة يعني. كل الأجانب كانوا في عزومة خارج، وأنا كنت في البيت لحالي مع أخي، وسمعنا بوم 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 ضربة يعني. كنا خايفين، وكان عندنا مرة عجوزة يمنية جنبنا وتحافظ علينا، وكانت تقول لنا رمضان رمضان رمضان. نحن خايفين. وبعدين قمت الصبح وما حصلت حد في البيت، لأنه أمي وأبي وصلوا البيت بعد يوم، لأنه ما قدروا يوصلوا إلى البيت، لأنه كانوا يضربوا بين الشوارع. وبعدين وصلوا البيت وخلاص بدأت الثورة. وهذا طبعا تغيرت كل شيء، لأنه بعد أيام وصلوا المصريين، وصل الجيش المصري، وكل شيء تغير طبعا. وخلاص وبعدين بدأت الحرب مع الملكية وأنا كنت في صنعاء كل الأيام هذا. أذكر تمام ما أنسى لما كنا في صنعاء، وكان كان البدر كان يضرب صنعاء من عصر. كانت المعاصرة كلها، وكان يضربوا صنعاء يوميا، يضربوا، وكان يقولوا خلاص الملكية يدخل. وبعدين ما دخلوا، انت تعرف التاريخ وكل شيء ايش حصل. وبعدين مرة ثانية لما قاسم منصر كان يضرب صنعاء من بين حشيش، كان يضرب ما شاء الله يومي صنعاء يضرب صنعاء. وبعدين خلاص صدوا مع قاسم منصر. وما أنسى أيام ما دخل قاسم منصر بعد ما سدوا في صنعاء مع القبائل حقه، وكان في أكثر من 100,000 قبائل في الشرارة في التحرير. كل تحرير كانت مليان قبائل مع قاسم منصر، وطلعوا رئيس الأركان هذيك الأيام، وكان إنسان جيد وحبوب ومخ وذكي. وبعدين مسكين قتلوا وخلاص راح. المهم هذه
كل الأذكياء والكويسين والجيدين في اليمن يقتلوهم، كلهم يموتون.
أيوة أكيد. تعرف إنه قاسم منصر كان يعرف يسوق الطائرة، كان يسوق طائرة كمان. يعني رجال. بعدين كان طويل أنا أذكره كان طويل. رحنا مرتين لبيته في بين عشيش مع الوالد. أيوة. وهذا هو الدكتور. كان طبعا الوالد كان معروف جدا، لأنه هو كان يشتي يسافر بعد الثورة، والصلال قال له لا يا دكتور، نحن نحتاجك هنا والشعب اليمني يحتاجك. لأنه هذيك الأيام ما كان فيش دكاترة في اليمن، عرفت كيف؟ يعني ما كان في شوي دكاترة إيطاليين وروسيين وتشيكيين.
كان حتى التعليم ممنوع، يعني التعليم كان في فترة ممنوع، صح ولا لا؟ قبل
مش ممنوع، بس تقريبا كان صعب أعتقد. يعني المهم وطبعا الوالد كان يتكلم عربي، لأنه مولود في بيروت، درس عربي ويكتب عربي ويقرأ عربي، واليمنيين حبوه كثير، وكان طيب ولطيف. وخلاص صار الدكتور ماريو، كان الدكتور ماريو، وأنا كنت ابن الدكتور ماريو.
طيب الآن قلت لي طلع السلال وقال له ابوك اجلس. هذا طبعا في السبعينات، صح ولا لا؟ بعد ما انتهت
لا بعد الثوره السلال قال له اجلس.
68
لما ضربوا السلال واجال الرئيس، طلعوا الرئيس عبد الرحمن اليرياني.
عبد الرحمن، انت كنت في اليمن ايام ما كان ايام ما؟
ايوه انا كنت في اليمن، لان كنت زي ما قلت لك كنت 3 مرات في السنه كنت اطلع وانزل. يعني اذكر عبد الرحمن اليرياني، وكنا نزور عبد الرحمن القاضي عبد الرحمن اليرياني لبيته، والوالد صار طبيب عبد الرحمن اليرياني، وكل المسؤولين يعني الشيخ عبد الله بن حسين والرضمي والبيت العمري، كل المسؤولين كانوا يتعالجوا عند الوالد. وبعدين خلاص الى 73 اذكر الفريق حسن العمري، لانه الوالد كان طبيب كمان الفريق حسن العمري، وكان يجي لنا البيت ونحن نروح له للبيت، وكان يجي في الليل تعبان ومضروب، لانه كان يخرج ويضرب الملكيه، وكان يرجع يقول اليوم ضربناه وسويناه. يعني هذا الكلام. انا كنت صغير وطفل، ما اذكر كده ذكريات. وخلاص هذا كان حياتنا في صنعاء. وبعدين في 73 تقريبا الوالد قرر انه يشتي يسافر، لانه كان تعبان جدا، لانه ما كان فيش دكاتره في صنعاء، شوي دكاتره، وكان في شوي دكاتره يمنيين انه بدأوا يدرسوا في مصر وفي روسيا، بس طبعا كل واحد كان يشتي يتعالج عند دكتور مالي. والوالد كان تعبان، لانه ما كان يرقد 2-3 في اليوم، كان يشتغل ليل ونهار ليل ونهار ليل ونهار ليل ونهار، ما قدر، خلاص كان تعبان. وقال خلاص اشتي اسافر. تخيل انه اجالنا للبيت القاضي عبد الرحمن الإرياني الرئيس الجمهورية جانا للبيت وقال لي يا دكتور نحن ما نخليك تسافر، أنت حق اليمن تجلس في اليمن. والوالد قال له خلاص خلينا أسافر أرتاح سنة سنتين وأرجع، بس أنا أحتاج راحة. وخلاص سافرنا، وأنا بكيت 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 بكيت، كنت زعلان 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 زعلان، ما كنت أشتي أترك اليمن. وأمي كانت تبكي وأخي تبكي، كلنا
لو يسمعوك اليمنيين الآن بيبكوا. بيبكوا يقول احنا ايش نسافر. نسافر.
المهم سافرنا ورحنا في أفريقيا شوي سنة سنتين، وبعدين رحنا إيطاليا، وأنا كملت الدراسة في إيطاليا، بس راسي وقلبي مخي وقلبي كانوا في اليمن. أنا ما كنت أشتي أجلس في أوروبا، ما كنت أحب أوروبا، كنت أحب اليمن وبس.
كم جلست في أوروبا وإيش سويت في أوروبا في الفترة اللي ما كنت فيها في اليمن؟
أنا كملت الدراسات وبعدين دخلت الجامعة وأدرس سياسة، بس ما كنت أشتي أدرس سياسة، أنا كنت أشتي أدرس الهندسة المعماري، الفن المعماري.
طب وليش
بس
اخترت سياسة؟ هل تعتقد انه
سياسة؟ لأن أمي كانت تقول لي أمي خلاص ادرس سياسة وتكون سفير وترجع اليمن كسفير.
طيب والله يا ماركو، انا بسألك، هل تجاربك طفولتك يعني انك اضطريت تسيب اليمن هل خلتك تدرس سياسة؟ يعني هل هذا الشيء جذبك انك تدرس سياسة؟
ما فهمت ايش قلت يعني.
Let me say this in English. Did your experiences يعني in the political turmoil as a child in Yemen drive you to study politics at that age?
لا قلت لك زي ما قلت لك، انا ما كنت احب، اول شيء انا ما احب السياسه، وثاني ما امي كانت تقول لي ادرس السياسه علشان ترجع صنعاء كسفير بس، وانا كنت اشتغل السفير الايطالي، اكون سفير ايطالي في اليمن،
رجع رئيس،
ارجع اليمن وبس.
ايش فيك رئيس يا ماركو؟ ما نشك سفير، ايش فيك رئيس؟ ممكن تكون رئيس.
بس طبعا قلبي كان في الفن المعماري، كان في الهندسه المعماريه. المهم بدأت الجامعة سنتين وبعدين تركت ورحت عند أبي وقلت للوالد، قلت يا بابا أنا ما أقدر، هذا مش بلادي هنا، حتى لو أنا إيطالي بس قلبي في صنعاء، أنا أرجع اليمن. وخلاص رجعت صنعاء.
وهذا سنة كم؟
هذا في سنة 79، بين 79 و80 يعني. جلست ورحت صنعاء، ما حصلت شيء في صنعاء لأنه كنت أشتغل، ونزلت الحديدة واشتغلت في الحديدة حوالي سنتين مع بيت حائل سعيد. أنا اشتغلنا في التجارة حق الفواكه، وكان معهم ثلاجات في الحديدة، واشتغل سنتين في الحديدة، وهذا فعلا ساعدني كثير لأنه حبيت تهامة، يعني تهامة في قلبي. لو تقول لي الآن فين تشتي تسكن، أقول لك أشتي أسكن في تهامة، لأنه أنا تهامة يتجنن، يعني محل يعني ما تتخيل كيف هذا تهامة، يعني الناس في تهامة قلوبهم طيب، يعني في شيء في تهامة، يعني أنا حسيت إنه في شيء قوي 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 في تهامة. وسكنت حوالي سنتين 3 في تهامة في الحديدة، وطبعا بعدين حصلت رجعت صنعاء وخلاص، وبعدين بدأت أشتغل في صنعاء. قابلت إنسان الأخ ألوان الشيباني الله يرحمه، توفى قبل أسبوعين.
I saw that. عظم الله أجرك يا ماركو. I actually wanted to message you about it, بس I thought I'll give you some time. Were you guys close?
يعني كان إنسان طيب وكويس ولطيف very very humble person. قابلته وكان معه مكتب صغير في شارع القصر. قال لي
العالمية صح؟
العالمية، بس كان في البداية كنا 4 نفر يعني يشتغل، يعني ما كان فيش موظفين وفرا ولا شيء. وبدأنا في شارع القصر حبة 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 حبة، بعدين بدأنا كل العالمية اللي دحين العالمية اليوم المجموعة العالمية، بس بدأنا في 85 من شارع القصر من خانة صغير في شارع القصر مع ألوان الشيباني عمر محمد عمر ويلا كانوا
طيب
أيام.
ماركو، هل فتحت يعني it's a technical question، هل كنت مؤسس ولا موظف ولا كان معك أسهم ولا؟
لا، في البداية كنت موظف طبعا. في البداية كنت موظف، عمري كان 25 26 وتخيل أن كنت أمشي بسيارتي وأمشي السواح بسيارتي، مش بالسيارة حق الشركة. ما كانش عندنا سيارات ولا عندنا شيء.
على فكرة في اليمن أحس إنه business and personal always mix. you can't
بس أنا كنت مبسوط. كان عندي الرنج روفر بيضاء، وأمشي السواح، أروح على المطار بالزهوم أمشيهم. وبعدين بدأت سيارة، سيارتين، 3 4 سيارات وموظفين ومرشدين ويلا وكبرنا. بعدين طبعا دخلت شريك مع ألوان الشيباني واصحابه.
سنة كم؟
هذا بعد فترة دخلنا الشركة.
تذكر بعد كم، بسنة كم أصبحت شريك يعني؟
هذا بعد ما شافوا انه الامل كان يمشي ونجاح، يعني في تقريبا في 89 90 في التسعينات بدأنا. وبعدين بدأنا نكبر الشركة، وبدأنا الفنادق، وبدأنا المشاري، وبدأنا نفتح فروع هنا في كل مكان، في الحديدة، في تعز، وبعد الواحدة في المكلا في سيول. وبعدين صارت العلمية اللي معروفة الآن، تعرفوا العلمية.
طب سؤال، ليش اخترت تشتغل في السياحة في اليمن؟ ليش ما اخترت؟
هذا سؤال مهم جدا. أنا طبعا مش إنسان تجاري. I'm not a businessman and I don't know really how to handle business. I consider myself يعني creative، يعني فنان. بس لأنه حبيت اليمن وشفت أن البلد جميل وتراثه يعني كان يعني رهيب، incredible beautiful unique. قلت ما في شريك أنه نبدأ سياحة علشان نحافظ على التراث. عرفت كيف؟ نجيب السواح علشان إيش؟ علشان نخلي اليمنيين يفهموا أنه تراثهم وبلادهم حلو وجميل جدا. لأنه لما كنت أتكلم مع اليمنيين وأقول لهم بلادكم حلو، كانوا يقولوا لا، بلادنا تراب وحجر، كله تراب وحجر، إيش في من حلو في بلادنا؟ يلا ما كان يفهموا. بعدين لما بدأوا يشوفوا السواح، يعني يشوف سائح يدفع 1000 3 4 ألف دولار عشان يوصل لليمن ويصور ويزور، قالوا هذاك بدأ يعني استخدمت السياحة علشان حفاظ التراث.
بس ماركو، خلي حفاظ التراث على جنب لأنه بنعمل يعني
طبعا بس أقول لك ليش بدأت بالسياحة. هذا كانت القصة.
بس بجالي سؤال، وانت تتكلم، انت قلت انه كنت تعرف اليمنيين انه بلادهم حلوه وانهم لازم يحافظوا عليها وانه هل كان معك سياح يمنيين؟ هل كان يجي معك عن طريقك سياح يمنيين؟ هل عمره جاك يمني يعني عايش في صنعاء قال لك اشتي انا اروح مع دول الاجانب كلهم اتمشى؟ طبعا انا عارف ان الاسعار غاليه، 3 4 الف دولار، يعني لو جيت تقول لي يمني 3 4 الف دولار ممكن يقول لك لا، يعني مستحيل. وعلى ايامها كمان برضه
3 4 دولار بين 1000 إلى 3000 دولار، هذول اللي جايين من الخارج. بس طبعا اليمن اللي لا، ما كان عندنا نادرا أكثر شيء اليمنيين اللي كانوا عايشين في الخارج. كان عندي سواح يمنيين يعني عايشين في أمريكا وفي بريطانيا وفي لبنان، كان بعدهم يوصلوا اليمن ويقولون نحن نزور اليمن. صح اليمنيين اللي كانوا عايشين في الخارج ما كانوا يعرفون بلادهم، بس اليمني اللي عايش في اليمن لا، ما كان يمشي. كان عندي سواح من تركيا، كان عندي سواح من بحرين، من الكويت، من العالم كله، من اليابان، قد جبنا سواح من كل مكان.
طيب سؤال، يعني احكي لنا على تجارب السياح، احكي لنا على اي قصص، احكي لنا عن يعني the mode of operation حق العالمية. What made it unique? What made it special? What made it successful? And yeah, the floor is yours. And by the way, Marco, we have 9 minutes on our first meeting. Let's just talk about for now. I say let's talk about the mode of operation of العالمية. Let's start with this.
Well, you know, of course, although I'm not a businessman, but when I do something, I am a perfectionist. So I like to do things perfect. So my way of working was to really train the people and train my drivers and my guides on how to handle the tourists and how to take them around, how to show the country. So every year, actually twice a year, I used to take all my tour guides. I used to have 60 tour guides working for me. Only مرشد سياحي كانوا 60. المرشدين بس. بعدين كان عندي موظفين هذا ثاني. كان عندي حوالي 30-40 موظفين في المكتب، وبعدين حوالي 20-30 موظفين في كل فرق في اليمن. بس المرشدين كنا مرتين في السنة نخرج ونزور البلد. And I showed them how to take around the tourists, how to talk, how to explain. Besides it, I had a classroom in the office where I was teaching them about the history of Yemen, how to talk to the people, how to explain. Of course, it was not easy because أكثر المرشد السياحية ما كانوش متعلمين. They didn't come from university. They didn't even did school. They even barely knew how to write, some of them. Some they were good, cultivated, but some not. So I just gave them basic information, of course, on Yemen. So they knew how to explain, how to take the people around. And not only that, the major thing was that the follow-up with the clients, with the tourists. I had 2 people staying in the office at night. لما كنا نغلق المكتب الساعة 8 كل واحد يروح البيت، كان في 2 يجلسوا في المكتب للساعة 10-11 في الليل بالتليفون ويتصلوا في كل اليمن ويتواصلون مع السواح just to check how was the service. Are you okay, sir? Well, it's okay. How was the driver? How was the guide? How was your tour? And if there was something wrong, they were taking notes. So in the morning, I had all these notes in my office so I could check the service, the quality control. Quality control is very important on everything we do. And not everyone does this. But we started quality control in Yemen from the 80s, from the 90s on with Universal. This was very, very important. That's why we succeeded, because when the tourist was at the end of his tour, we knew if he was happy or not happy. If he wasn't happy, we were going to visit him, we were going to talk to him, we were going to give him some gift. And we also were going to tell him, okay, next time you come back, you have 20% discount if you come back. You understand? So we keep the relation with the clients. And you know, when you work in tourism, you know, when you reach the success is only when you have your people, the tourists coming back. A destination is a real tourist destination when people comes back. You know, if you go to Yemen and you like it and you go back a second time, a third time, a fourth time, means that's success. And that means it is a real tourism destination. And I can assure you, I swear to you, that most of the tourists coming to Yemen, they used to always come back even 2-3 times back. And this was a great success.
Wow.
This is money also at the end.
It just shows you the magnitude of wasted potential. You know, all of this is done by you, by a private corporation, by a business, by, you know, what if the whole system, what if the whole government looked at it like that? What if they actually invested in it? And of course, we'll talk about this soon, but it just shows you that we have so much.
You have so much, and you can have even more. This was the most important thing, and also very important. You know, when I started working in tourism, the average nights for a tourist, because you know you consider always the average nights to calculate if the business is working or not. And so the average nights in Yemen when I started in 1985 was 7 nights. Of course, at that time was only North Yemen. It was not South. Of course, it was only the northern part. The northern part was only 7 nights, okay? Then in 1990, these 7 nights became 15 nights.
Wow.
You understand? So people used to come for 15 nights, only North Yemen, to go everywhere, because I used to send them to Saada, to Shahara, to this, to there, and to sleep in the funduks in Kaukaban, in Tula, in Ib, in Tihama, in Zabid, everywhere. So slowly, we cover all the territory. Then when, with the unification of the 2 Yemen, we used to sell tour of 21 nights. 21 nights stay. You multiply 21 nights by an average of $60–70 per day. That is the average that the tourist spends in Yemen between food and hotel and transportation, and it's a lot of money.
I can
and
imagine.
then this not considering Saqطrى. Then we had Saqطrى. We used to have 21 nights and then another 5 nights in Saqطrى. At the end, people used to come for 1 month.
Wow. Wow.
You understand?
I do. I really do.
And this is the great potential. This was the great potential of tourism in Yemen. And also the potential was there because the way we used to make tourism in Yemen was completely different from other places. The tour in Yemen was like a discovery tour. You know, I remember, I will never forget that in 1988, 89, at the Tourism Promotion Board, at the Minister of Tourism, all the travel agents, everyone was asking to use buses to take the tourists around. I rejected and I fought to stop this. I say, no way. We don't want buses in Yemen. We only use Toyota Land Cruiser, where you have 3–4 people per car and you have 5–6 group of cars traveling around everywhere. If you have these huge buses, it will change completely. It will turn into mass tourism. And that, so it was also the way you were going around the country. It's like yourself was going around the country, you know, with these Toyota Land Cruisers going from village to village, from city to city, sleeping 1 night in Tais, 1 night in Sada, 1 night in Zabid, 1 night in Shara. It was beautiful.
It's more personal. It's a more personal.
More personal.
Yeah, yeah. Marco, we have 2 minutes. Let's take a break and come back. Welcome back, Marco.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam. Round 2. Round 3. We were talking about tourism and your experience in that field and how you built up universal tourism. بس الآن خلينا نتكلم على كيف خبرتك في السياحة أثرت على وجهات النظر اللي اكتسبتها فرضاً من ناحية التراث الثقافي أو الطبيعي. تفضل احكي لنا، يعني احكي لنا كيف ايش اللي خلاك تكون هاي. انا عارف انك حكيتها مره، بس اعطينا كذا يعني a brief overview of why you became passionate about conserving and preserving before we go into all that again.
وانا زي ما قلت لك اول، يعني انا استخدمت السياحه للحفاظ التراث اليمني وفعلا نجح. So while I was working on tourism, at the same time, I created myself a second mission, a second job, which was getting more and more involved on the heritage conservation in Yemen. So I was always jumping from one office to another office in Sana'a and in Yemen, everywhere, even with UNESCO and international organization, trying to advise and give the right advices on what to do for Yemen to protect the heritage. I used to spend hours in the office in Sana'a of the mayor of Sana'a, or in the office of the Ministry of Culture, or in the office of the Ministry of Environment. Of course, I was doing all this free by myself. Nobody was paying me for this. It was something I was feeling inside myself as a mission.
All right.
As a duty. And I also started doing my own restorations. because I decided to learn on how to restore and conserve. So the first project, of course, was my house, which is a beautiful old house, which is more than 150 years old in Albania. And then I continued doing restoration for other people, Yemeni, foreigners, international organization. I worked in the National Museum of Sana'a, Dar es Saada, for the restoration of all the buildings in the compound. And I was trying to convince the Yemeni authorities to extend the conservation of the old city of Sana'a to Bir al-Azab, to Ar-Rawda, to Wadi Dar. And in fact, I convinced at that time the former president Ali Abdullah Saleh to declare the Greater Old Sana'a. The Greater Old Sana'a means the old city with all whatever is old and historically important around the city. So Bir al-Azab, Al-Yahud, Wadi Dar, Ar-Rawda, Hatta, Beit Boz, Beit Sabatan, Sana'a, all this area. I was very strongly involved on the protection of Bir al-Azab quarter because I was living in Bir al-Azab, and two of my offices were based in Bir al-Azab, and both were old palaces and buildings that I myself restored in Sana'a, Beit Angat, and Beit al-Hajj al-Kibsi, and so on. And then, of course, I convinced my partners in Universal to invest into hotels, to invest into creating hotels, because at that time, the problem was there were no hotels in Yemen, very few hotels. And of course, if I convince somebody to do an hotel, I will do a heritage hotel. And I started in Sana'a, first of all, the Bir al-Azab Hotel, which was a compound of different old buildings in Bir al-Azab, to restore them and convert them into a first-class hotel. And but of course, the project was never completed, and we could never open the hotel because of the political events. And the project is there. The project is still there, and it's closed, but it's there.
So it's not a hotel at the moment.
It's not an hotel. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. There was a time where I even convinced Le Méridien. At that time, Le Méridien chain hotel was a very important chain to take over and to run it. Another project, a very important project, was Al Hawta Palace Hotel in Hadramaut, where I restored one old building and I added another 3 buildings, but built in the traditional way with clay, sustainable and everything. And we created this beautiful compound, which is called Al Hawta Palace Hotel in Hadramaut. And then so on, many, many other projects. And then one of the most important action I did was the Queen of Sheba exhibition. What is the Queen of Sheba exhibition? There was an exhibition which was created by the Arab Institute in Paris in the late, at the end of the 90s, on the archaeology of Yemen, on the history of Yemen. It was a huge, beautiful exhibition. So the exhibition went then from Paris to Munich and from Munich to Vienna. And then after that, it was supposed to be closed and finished.
All right.
Of course, this type of exhibition used to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of visitors. So it was a good image for Yemen and the promotion of the Yemeni identity and the Yemeni history. At that time, I had a good relation with the Minister of Culture of that time, Abdul Malik al-Mansour, and then I spoke to him and I told him, listen, why instead of closing and the exhibition, don't you give it to me and I'll take care. And I'll take it around the world. So I take the name of Yemen around the world. So I took it to Rome. And then I took it to Torino, which is a very important city in the north of Italy. Then I took it to Spain, to 4 cities, Madrid, La Coruña, Sagunto, Alicante, Valencia. Then I took it to London, to the British Museum, and so on. And then to Washington, to the Smithsonian Institute. And this exhibition played a very, very good role because hundreds and hundreds of thousands of visitors at each exhibition in each country at the end brought plenty of tourists to Yemen. And not only that, but it gave Yemen a good image. It really gave Yemen the image of a country which a deep history and a very important history, you know? Because it was not only an archaeological exhibition. Around the archaeological exhibition, I organized several side events, like pictures exhibition, movies, documentaries about Yemen, music performance. I even took to Sana'a, to Rome, and to London, the people from Souk al-Malh, from Sana'a, from the souk. I took them there to sell their craft, their things, their products.
Wow.
So it was great success. It was a great success. I even took the Yemeni coffee to Rome. So during the exhibition, you could have and taste the Yemeni coffee in all the cafes of Rome or London. So it was a big, big project, and it works very well. Besides that, it brought to Yemen hundreds and hundreds of journalists, because we had a flood of journalists coming to Yemen who wanted to write about Yemen.
Wow.
So in the period between 2000, which was my first exhibition in Rome, between 2000 and 2003, 2004, we had hundreds of tourists coming to Yemen, and hundreds of articles coming out in the international press about Yemen. You know, it was a great success.
I can imagine that. But Marco, I wanted to ask you, we've spoken about this before, actually, and you know, raising awareness and being proud and loving our cultural and natural heritage is important. But we've also talked about conservation. I also wanted to ask Marco, like, please try your best to speak in Arabic, especially during this. I know it's harder, but I think it'll be very powerful to hear it in Yemeni, even if the wrong words come out. I encourage you to.
You know, it's nearly 8 years that I live in exile, because I consider myself on exile here in Europe. So there is many words I forgot. But anyway, I will talk now. I want to tell you something very important. If you look at the list of the World Heritage Sites in the world, you see that Europe and North America have 545 heritage sites, Asia and Pacific 277, Latin America and Caribbean 146, Africa 98, and at the end you have the Arab states with 88.
How many are in Yemen? Out of
in Yemen, we have only 4 out of this 88.
Wow. Now, I'm pretty sure there could be a lot more.
Yeah, this is what I was going to tell you. Now, first of all, it's a shame that the Arab states, so the Middle East, which are one of the most important cradle of civilization in the world, has so many sites in the World Heritage Sites, in the World Heritage List. And second, Yemen has the potential of having maybe another 20 sites, although we have only 4.
The 4 are.
This is already wrong.
The 4 are. One of them is in Marib. Is Queen Sheba.
لا. الأربع الأماكن هو واحد جزيرة سقطرى اللي هي بالنسبة للبيئة، وبعدين عندنا صنعاء وزبيد وشبام.
So even
لما تشوف صنعاء شبام زبيد وسقطرى، بس عندنا أماكن في اليمن.
مارب شبوة، عندنا أماكن كثيرة.
أيوة. أنا عملت بيان، عملت كبش هذا، عندي تقريبا 15 إلى 17 زيادة، يعني ممكن نزيد في هذا البيان. تمام. So حرام.
Do you have the names? Do you want to share them?
Right. Well, okay, now there is something very important. Now there is a new policy at UNESCO. You can declare a site, a World Heritage Site, not only the site itself, but we call it mixed site. Means that it could be a group of sites. So if you look at حراز مثلا، أنت بتشوف حراز، منطقة حراز في أكثر من 100 قرى وقصور ومدري إيش في منطقة الحراز، لا؟ وبعدين هي منطقة مهمة تاريخية تراثية وبيئية. It's 3 values. So this is called a group site, but it's called mixed site, where you have natural history and heritage together. So Haras could be all together a UNESCO site. Then again, Jabal Bura, again, same like Haras, where you have villages and nature. You know, in Jabal Bura, you have one of the oldest tropical forests of the Middle East, which is still there. One of the oldest. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of years, okay? Then you go to Jibla and the area around Jibla. Then you go all the area of Hamdan. I call it Hamdan area, which is Tula, Kaukabam, Hababa, Shibam, Zakati, Bukur, Tawila, Mahwid. All this area can be a heritage site. And so on and so on. And then you have the archaeological sites. You know, you have all the archaeological sites. You have Ma'in, you have Barakish, you have Al-Bayda, you have Sauda, you have Surwah, you have Marib, you have plenty. This is crazy. So the first thing we will have to do now, as soon as peace will be there in Yemen, we will have to nominate these places, to make a study, of course, and then present it to UNESCO, nominate these places, because Yemen has to be the first one in the list in the Arab states on holding heritage sites. It's a must, and it is due.
I definitely agree with you, but also Marco, we talked briefly about an inventory. Do you care to?
The inventory is something else. Now I am during my exile here in Europe. I started working on a sort of roadmap for the period after the peace. Yemen needs really to look at its heritage and protect it and conserve it. But we cannot go random.
We need a plan.
Or we cannot accept that this international organization, they come and they restore one building, they restore one castle, they restore one this, one that. This is not the way of working. First of all, I am against any restoration. Before restoration, قبل الترميم يشتي الحفاظ. بعد الحفاظ نبدأ نرمم. عرفت كيف؟ ما فيش فايدة إنه نرمم وما نحافظ، لأنه بعد رممنا وبعدين مين هيحافظ اللي رممنا؟
صحيح.
لو ما فيش قوانين وشروط.
صحيح. صح.
So we need to have a conservation plan for the whole Yemen heritage. This is a very important. We have to build the foundation. So this will be part of my roadmap proposal. In the roadmap proposal, there is a national inventory that we have to go throughout the country. The national inventory, it's a project which will never end, because Yemen, there are thousands of sites, thousands. I'm not saying hundreds, thousands of sites which are still in good condition, still intact, or places. And the sites, when I talk about sites, we talk about historical sites and we talk about natural sites. Don't forget that nature and landscape is very important. Yeah, the cultural landscape.
So the inventory is going to contain داخل القائمة اللي بنعملها فرضا للمواقع التراثية والثقافية في اليمن، منها طبيعية، مواقع طبيعية، مواقع أثرية،
and then you have tangible and intangible. It's a huge thing. So it's a project that can last for the next 5, 6, 7 years. تخيل how many job opportunities this project can produce. You will have thousands of people working on this. This is money.
Let's put us. I actually have a whole bullet point for the economic advantage. So let's talk about the whole. Anyway, let's talk about the plan.
After the inventory, we have the creation of a heritage fund. We need a heritage fund in Yemen. If you don't have a heritage fund, we go nowhere.
So it's
the heritage fund means to have a fund.
Money.
Money, but where we cannot go and beg money left. نروح يمين يسار.
No, it has to be local.
It has to be. People giving money from outside, أهلاً وسهلاً. They will give us money from there. We put it on the heritage fund, and then this money will be only and only allocated for the conservation of the Yemeni heritage. So inventory and heritage fund. This is very, very important. And then at the end, we need to have a conservation plan. The conservation plan will be a huge thing, which will go and will be developed throughout the country, will generate jobs, and will make people busy, and will bring back the identity of the country. Because don't forget that the country that has a good heritage, which is protected and conserved, also means social stability.
Strong identity, yeah.
Means strong identity. If you have a strong identity, you have social stability. If your heritage is destroyed and you don't know anymore and you lost your history, then you don't have a social stability.
That is true. That is true. So aside from restoration and conservation, what else does your plan include, Marco?
Well, then beside that, I think that Yemen has a good potential also to become a hub for several activities. Like it could become a very important hub for organic architecture.
Organic architecture.
Organic architecture means you develop a contemporary architecture, means you develop a modern architecture, but using organic materials like clay, stones, brick, organic materials, but modern architecture. And this is already happening somewhere. It's happening in Mexico, it's happening in other countries. But Yemen, that has such a huge amount of architecture method, practices, and styles, it could become really a hub. And then you will have plenty of people coming from all over the world to study this in Yemen and to develop new methods, new processes. And
in this contemporary organic architecture, because I'm pretty sure you know that our we already have some sort of architectural signature to us. There's already an identity towards our agriculture, not our agriculture, our architecture, the way we build, the way we the color of things. It's pretty interesting. Even the buildings are brown. It feels like they're part of the ground. It feels like they're part of the earth. And the way we build things, it's already possible to. So it's possible to incorporate that identity into this modern architecture, right?
It is true, but the only way to protect the old architecture and the traditional architecture is to develop a modern architecture which is linked to the old one. You understand? Because I don't think that the Yemenis will continue building like they used to build, the same style, the same shape, the same window, the same doors. Of course, the world is changing, life is changing. We need to develop, we need to come to something new. And this is perfect. This is completely perfect. It happened also in Italy. In Italy, not now, but between the beginning of the 19th century and the 1950, 1960, they developed an architecture which was linked to the old architecture, okay? Using more or less the same materials, but different styles.
In Italy?
Yeah, okay. We had it. And in Yemen, we have to have this because Yemen has a history of architecture which is unique in the world, and this architecture should not die. Otherwise, it will become like a museum. So for us, that's the architecture, but now there is something else. No, it's evolution. The architecture should continue. And in fact, the history of the Yemeni architecture is a history of evolution. It's always evoluted and evoluted and evoluted. And you see the evolution from the different examples you have around the country. So this evolution should not stop, it should continue. But it should continue on a sustainable way, in a professional way, and not creating crazy things that doesn't have anything to do with the tradition. It needs a link, it needs to be linked. It's already happening somehow. It is already happening, but it is contaminated, what we have now in Yemen. The contemporary architecture, although is partially organic, partially not, it is contaminated with ideas from Jordan, from Egypt, from Dubai, and this. No, we need to stop that. And it is also contaminated, and this is a problem, from the San'ani architecture. The San'ani style of architecture the Sal'ani style of building, it's contaminating the rest of Yemen. So you go to Aden.
The most popular.
I was shocked when I went to Aden after the unification, and I saw gamarias and styles of San'ani houses inserted in Aden houses, which were British style or colonial style or whatever, or in Hadramaut. We need to stop that, because otherwise we'll have like a Sultan. It's becoming like Sultan, and we don't want this Sultan to happen in the architecture. Each governorate, each province should have its own architecture, and especially the San'ani architecture should remain in Sana'a, should not be exported around.
Yeah,
of course, if you do your own house, you decide to do whatever you want, but in general, it should be this way. So this is very, very important. So a hub for a modern contemporary organic architecture, and a hub for biological agriculture, organic agriculture.
Biological agriculture. Okay.
You produce agriculture in a biological way, in an organic way, avoiding to use chemicals and fertilizer which are not good for your health.
Yeah, because
avoiding to use, excuse me?
This is a trend now, organic vegetables and fruits.
The trend is a good business. You know, yeah. Italy is the third world producer of organic agriculture. Italy, number 3 in the world.
There's a lot of money to be made in that. A lot
huge business. It's a huge business. So it is always business at the end. But Yemen can do that. Why? Because the soil of Yemen is already fertile. It's already very strong, because Yemen is a volcanic land. So, you know, wherever you have volcanoes, the soil is very fertile. In Italy, we have plenty of volcanoes. That's why the soil is very fertile. The land is fertile. So in Yemen could be the same. So you don't need to use too many fertilizer, pesticides, all these things that in the end, it contaminate the earth and are not good for health. And, you know, if you use too many fertilizer and pesticides in the soil, at the end, the soil dies. It dies. It dies. And then so a hub for biological agriculture, a hub for organic architecture, and a hub for scientific research on climate changes. And Yemen is the perfect place, because you are there, your position is very strategic there. And you can, maybe this hub could be in Saqطrى, you know, in Saqطrى to open a hub. So having a hub, being a hub, means that you open research centers, study centers.
Yeah.
And you have people coming from all over the world, experts coming, going. And the Yemenis, they will become experts on this. There is a huge program. And this is all part of my roadmap. And then don't forget that if you promote biological agriculture, organic agriculture, you protect the land, you protect the soil, but you also protect the landscape. What is happening in Yemen now is that the big investors are buying the lands, and they are from the farmers, and they are controlling most of the land. So the small farmers are leaving the land and going to the city, which is also a big problem. We need to avoid that, you know, because the big investors, they will never look for biological agriculture. All what they want is profit and fast. So we need to stop this process, and we need to keep the land with the small farmers, small entities left and right, that they will work on a biological way, on an organic way, to control their land and to produce their products. You understand? If these people will remain in the land, the villages will not be abandoned. If the villages are not abandoned, we protect the cultural landscape. So again, we go back to the heritage.
Because with no life in these sites, with no lives in these villages, there's no.
I have seen it myself. I used to go to Tihama. I have seen it myself. I used to go to Tihama. You know, I know Tihama very well. So before, it was full of small villages, full of life, colorful, nice people, and each one had his own land and things. Then the people start coming from Sana'a, from Hadramaut, buying the lands, and the farmers used to leave. And then all these villages are abandoned. They're all ghost villages. So this is the end of the cultural landscape of Yemen also.
That is sad. It is.
So at the end, it's a circular economy. when you talk about heritage, about agriculture, it's all connected. You know, it's all connected from my point of view. And this is the blood of Yemen. This is the real blood of Yemen, and Yemen should really invest on this. And I'm sure if they will take this way, this direction, in very soon things will be much better, and it's going to be happy Arabia again. Why not?
Arabia Felix.
Of course, it's not easy. You have to. It's a hard road. It's a hard way. But this is somehow, even if they reach 50% of it, it can be a good goal.
But you know, Marco, you sent me the other day what's happening in Shabwa in Qana, right?
ميناء قنا.
قنا.
اللي حصل في ميناء قنا هذا خطير 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 جدا.
قما ولا قنا؟
خطير.
قنا ولا قما بالميم ولا بالنون؟ قنا.
والله ما بعرف. انت تعرف احسن مني. ميناء قنا.
انا ما اعرف للاسف.
اسمع، المهم اللي حصل في ميناء قنا، يعني انا بكيت 3 يوم. I cry. I swear to you, I didn't sleep for 3 nights. This site, which now it's called بير علي، نحن نسموه بير علي الان لانه في جنبها قريه سيادين اسمه بير علي، يعني المنطقه اسمها بير علي. بس في بير علي في المنطقه الموقع اللي اسمه قنا، اللي اقدم ميناء من اقدم ميناء في الشرق الاوسط. وهذا كانت الميناء بتاع البخور. كان البخور توصل من سقطرى توصل قنا، ومن قنا كان يركبوا فوق الجمال، ومع الجمال يوصل ما شاء الله بين الصحراء والسعوديه وهذا يوصل to the Mediterranean Sea، للبحر المتوسط. هذا الزمان قبل 3000 سنين، يعني الميناء هذه أقدم من 3000 سنين. بس it is not only a beautiful archaeological site, it is also a beautiful natural site. I think that the beach around ميناء قنا are among the most beautiful one in the Middle East, from my point of view. Beautiful beaches. The whole landscape is beautiful. You have عندك البراكين، وعندك الرملة حق الصحراء، وعندك الرملة حق البحر، وعندك البحر من هذا اللون it's like emerald color, no? It's like being blue and emerald color. It's an amazing place. And I had also a project for all this area. I wanted to make it a protected area. It was around 50-60 kilometers to make it a protected area. And I used to go to Bir Ali. Why I know Bir Ali very well? Because when I used to work in Mukalla, I renovated a site which then we converted into hotel, اللي هو فندق حضرموت في المكلا. أنا اشتغلت 4 سنين في فندق حضرموت المكلا to renovate it and make it the hotel. So whenever I was tired, I used to take the car ساعة ونص من المكلا, and I used to go to Bir Ali to swim, to rest. Okay. Few weeks ago, and believe me, Tihama in Yemen and Bir Ali in the south are in my heart, both. I used to, and 3-4 weeks ago, I see these pictures in Facebook. Not one picture, around 40 pictures of an hotel resort. I saw that too. I actually saw it today too. يعني مدينة سكنية, مدينة مش فندق, مدينة سكنية, مدينة. يعني يمكن أكثر من 80 90 100 بيوت و3 4 ذو, يعني وأسفلتد رود crazy. And أنا قلت, I thought it was fake. It was just a project, but it was not real. So I just replied and said, please tell me it's not a dream and this is fake. Please tell me. And they say, no, it's already built. Yeah. On the site of Bir Ali, on the site of Kana. That was crazy. Haram, good haram. This is the asset of the country. This is your asset. One of the most important assets in the country. How they authorized this thing. How somebody had in mind to do something like that. And this already shows you the capitalistic idea that it has to be only for profit. And in fact, the guy who was answering with me on Facebook, he said, well, why? Because we have an hotel now, we'll have tourists coming, we make plenty of money and this thing. And what we do with the money? if you're destroying the heritage and you're destroying the identity of the country and you're destroying the asset of the country. You know, it could have, and anyway, even the resort is not nicely built.
I saw it. I'll show everyone. I'll attach.
It's not nicely built. It could have do something, you know, with stones, with things, something different. But it really is ugly. And anyway, it's really on the site, and khalas, everything is gone.
Do you think that hypothetically, can someone knock it down? How would that affect the site?
From my point of view, I you know, I'm in touch with several Yemenis in Sana'a and in Shabwa and there on Facebook, and I told them, from my point of view, the Yemeni government should give a sign and should go there and stop the project, and or knock it down or reduce it. Okay, reduce it as much as they can to reduce the impact to the site. And we have to do a restyling of the site and reduce it. Because they told me, oh, we're going to build a wall around. If you build the wall, you are officializing the site.
It's more ugly to build the wall too.
Yeah, but even if you build the wall, means you are accepting it. Yeah. We don't have to build the wall because we don't accept this. It's not nice, and it's destroying one of the most beautiful sites in Yemen. Haram, 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 haram. So this is happening. This is what's happening, and it's an alarm. It's an alarm also for Jazeerat Saqطrى. You know how much I care for Saqطrى. I've been so many times, and I have so many ideas and projects for the island of Saqطrى. I was there last year also. I was there for 2 weeks trying to evaluate what can we do to save the island, because Saqطrى is really, really suffering a lot. And the biggest issue in Saqطrى is that most of the coastal area are all already divided into walls, where in the future they would like to build hotels and houses and villas. So what happened in Birali and in Ghana, it's an alarm, and it's already sending a message that this could happen in Saqطrى in the future. We don't want it.
It can happen everywhere, and you know, that's where your plan come into action, hopefully.
That's why my plan, the roadmap, should be accepted by the national agenda. You know, it should be in the national agenda of the country now that they are discussing, now that they are going to rebuild the country and to put everybody together. And it has to be one of the main objectives, you know, because if in one of the main objectives is only reconstruction, and reconstruction doesn't make sense. We need to have reconstruction and conservation, both.
That is true. That is true.
Otherwise, it's the end. Look what's happening in Iraq. The Iraqis are crying. Now, a lot of places in Iraq, the heritage places in Iraq, are getting destroyed, not by the war, but now, during the reconstruction. And don't forget, the reconstruction after war could be more dangerous than the war itself, because it happened even in Italy.
And it happens quick, and it happens rapidly, and they want to do it as soon as possible, as cheap as possible.
So in the national agenda of the country now, they should have a roadmap for the conservation of the heritage, and they should put some, you know, some limits on what can be done and not to be done, and to have a zoning plan, to have the country divided in zoning. So some areas you can develop, some areas you don't develop, you know.
That's
some
true.
Areas you restore, some areas you don't restore, but we need to have a zoning, an inventory, a heritage fund, all these things together. And then after, we can go into restoration and do the restoration thing. But first of all, we have to pave the road.
So we have to pave the road. We have to pave the road. Marco, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We do have 3 minutes. You want me to start a new one, or do you want us to wrap this up?
It's up to you. I think we said a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we said a lot, but there's one thing I do want to comment on before we go. I love the Saqطrى and Sicilia poster behind you. Tell us a little bit about that before we go.
Yeah, this is the poster of Saqطrى that, you know, 3 years ago, I organized in Palermo in Sicily, a huge conference, international conference for the protection of the island of Saqطrى. And we had experts coming from all over the world. And even I had the delegation of a political delegation coming from Yemen, of ministers, the Minister of Environment, Minister of Culture, Minister of Tourism. They all came Even the governor of Saqطrى was there, and we all discussed what to do to protect Saqطrى, because Saqطrى is really suffering. It's really suffering a lot, and Saqطrى is very delicate.
It is.
Saqطrى, it's a natural site.
It is.
Nature, if you destroy the nature, then it's gone, finished. You cannot bring it back.
Yeah, and that's
you destroy it and you rebuild it. But when you destroy the nature, it's destroyed. It's gone. It's halas.
Yeah.
So Saqطrى, it's an emergency, and we really need to do things. The conference was quite successful. I convinced UNESCO to launch an international appeal to save the island of Saqطrى. So, of course, Saqطrى has to be in the agenda also, and we will see what is going to happen. And I hope to go back very soon. Listen, so much to do. All what I want is to go back to Yemen as soon as possible, to work with the Yemenis, to help the Yemenis, to give my inputs, my ideas. But of course, are the Yemenis that have to save their heritage. I don't want UNESCO. I don't want any international organization to do it. It has to come from Yemen, first of all. And then, ahlan wa sahlan, the others, they can join. But it has to start from Yemen, and Yemen should have its own roadmap and to build the foundation.
I agree with you, Marco. And talking about this, I've already told you this before, and I'll tell you again. Once you're there, if you have a job for me, I'll do it for free. I'll do it for free. I want to do it. You know, they say lead by example. I want to lead by example. If you really do have a job for me, I wouldn't mind coming 2-3 months, you know, just seeing what happens and being a part of it, because I think it's important.
Anyway, there are a lot of Yemenis, the young generation, they're very active and very sensitive to this. You know, my Facebook page is very, very busy with all the Yemenis, young Yemenis discussing about this, especially those Yemenis living outside also, and some living in Sana'a or in Aden, whatever. And they really want all to work on this. So it's good. So I think we have already good potential with the young generation, with the new generation.
Inshallah, inshallah. Marco, we have less than a minute. I don't want to cut you off, but I'll figure out this Zoom issue, and maybe we can have you one more time. But it was a great conversation, a great interview. I loved your insights. I loved your input. I'm sure people would love to go into them deeper, and I'm sure we'll have you one more.